Alright, so naririnig na po ba ako ng lahat?
Opo.
Okay, so and nakikita na rin po yung screen. Okay. Okay, so let's start with a short prayer. So, dear Lord, into your hands I place my worries, cares, and troubles. Into your wisdom, I place my path, direction, and my goal. Into your love, I place my life. Amen. Alright, so ayan. So, gising na po ba ang lahat? Okay. So, inabuti ko na gamitin yung Friday nyo. Sorry. Yan. Since medyo yun yung common na wala tayong masyadong synchronous session. Okay. So, we are already in our third week in your basic calculus. Na? So, we will be talking about the continuity of a function. Okay. So, we have already studied about the limit of a function, di ba? Limit ng rational and transcendental function. So, sino kayang makaka-recall ng short definition, okay, ng limit? So, ano ba yung limit? Meron po ba? Okay, di ba ang limit is in Tagalog, ayan, hanggana, kung saan nagtatapos. Okay? Alright, so Arami Ramos is raising her hands.
Sir, pindot lang po. Sorry.
Hey, alright, sige. So ang limit is, as I have said, yung hangganan. Okay? So limit is, di ba? This is read as the limit of the f of x as x approaches c. So dapat may ina-approach si c, okay? And then yung value ng ating y or yung f of x, okay? May ina-approach din siyang value, okay? And that is the limit. Okay? Again, the limit is the value that y approaches as x approaches a given value c. Okay? So, dapat naiintindihan niya na po yun. Okay? So, sa graph, di ba, pwedeng makakita tayo ng hole or yung circle, unshaded circle. Okay? Meaning, meron siyang limit. Okay? So, as we approach it from the right and from the left, okay? So, big sabihin, may hangganan, may limit pa rin yung function natin. But, yung mismong value na yun ni x, okay, pag sinubstitute natin sa ating function, ay hindi siya kasama sa domain. No? So, undefined yung ating y. But still, it has a limit. Okay, so sana natatandaan po yun. Okay, now we will be talking about the continuity of a function. Okay, so pwede nyo po bang i-chat kung anong unang pumapasok sa isip nyo if narinig nyo yung salitang continuous? So ano ba yung continuous? Ano bang ibig sabihin nun? Alright, very good. Sabi ni Lara. Okay, so how about the others? Si Lara lang ba? Okay. Ayan, so very good. So tama po yung sinabi nyo or chinat nyo pong lahat. Sabi nyo ay tuloy-tuloy, walang interruption, no gaps, no? Okay, so that's correct. So continuous, di ba? Continuous, tuloy-tuloy, walang putol. Okay? So that's basically it. Yun yung pag-uusapan natin ngayon. Okay? So for our learning competencies, yan. So we'll be illustrating the continuity of a function at a number, okay, and determine whether a function is continuous at a number or not. So we will also illustrate continuity of a function on an interval, and also we will solve problems involving continuity of a function. All right, so let's now move on. Okay, so for our introduction, we will be determining which graph So the instruction is we have to determine which graph is continuous and which is not. Okay? So by simply looking at it, based sa sinabi nyo rin, no, na pag continuous, tuloy-tuloy, walang putol. No? So madali natin makikita using the graph. So let's see yung una kaya. So is this continuous or not?
Not.
Okay, so obviously this is not continuous since pag tinayos natin mula dito, okay, up. So pagdating sa part na to, may nakita tayong putol. So this is already not continuous. Okay? So next, ito po yung nasa right.
Continuous.
Alright, so very good. Ayan. So thank you sa mga nagpa-participate and nagsasend ng kanilang sagot. Okay, very good. So this is continuous. Obviously, wala rin tayo nakitang putol sa ating graph. So this is continuous. So for the third one, okay, so still this
Continuous.
is continuous. Okay, so madaling makikita, no, if continuous or not ang function based lang sa graph. Okay, so now what if binigyan tayo ng function? Okay, so meron tayong f of x is equal to x squared minus 1 over x plus 1. Okay, so magbe-base pa rin muna tayo sa graph. So we will graph the functions using Desmos app and we will determine if the following is continuous and which is not. Okay, so I think marunong naman lahat na gumamit ng Desmos website or app. Okay, so I will be showing you a sample. Okay. Kita naman po yung aking screen, yung Desmos.
Opo.
Alright, so simply we will type the function. So ano nga ba yung function? F of x is equal to x squared minus 1 over x plus 1. So f of x is equal to x squared. All right, so we have, okay, so the Desmos app will simply or automatically show you the graph of the function. So as we can see here, di ba, ang graph pala ng function na to is a straight line. Okay, so this is an example also of a rational function. Okay, so merong magpapa-undefined sa ating function, no? So kapag naging 0 itong denominator natin, we have the x plus 1 sa denominator. And if we will equate it to 0, okay, so we will get yung value ng x na magpapa-undefined sa ating function, and that is negative 1. Okay? So pagdating pala kay negative 1, no? So we have, asan yung negative 1? Okay, hanapin natin sa function natin or sa graph. All right, so here, kung makikita nyo, no, we have the -1 and undefined yung kanyang y value. So, hindi siya kasama sa domain, si -1. No? Bawal nating i-substitute since mag-undefined nga yung function natin. Okay? So, based on this, we have a unshaded circle. Okay? So, ayan. We have the unshaded circle here. So, as we trace, still, kapag tinrace natin yan, okay, so kumbaga isipin natin para siyang black hole or butas. Okay? So, still, kailangan nating tumalon dyan. So, still may interruption pa rin. No? So, hindi siya continuous. Okay? So, ayan. Kanina may nakita tayo cut sa ating graph and ngayon naman yung hole. Okay? So, they are the examples of interruption sa ating graph. Okay? So, kapag naka-encounter tayo nun, okay, so madali nating masabi na ang function ay not continuous. Okay? So, for our second example, ganun ko rin po siya ginawa. Type lang, f of x is equal to 1 over x plus 2. Okay? So, another one, is still a rational function. We have x plus 2 sa ating denominator and meron din siyang value ni x na magpapa-undefined sa ating function. Okay? And that is -2. Okay? So, kung mapapansin natin dito sa ating graph, okay, we have okay, ano po kayang tawag dito sa vertical broken line na to?
Y-asymptote.
Vertical.
Okay, very good. So, the asymptote, no? Okay. So, as the graph gets closer and closer to this line, okay, so it just gets closer and closer to the line. But yung graph natin, it will never touch the line. Okay. So, that is the asymptote. Okay. Kung mapapansin nyo, yun yung x is equal to -2 na line. Okay? So now, trace natin yung graph natin. Meron ba? Naka-encounter ba tayo ng interruption? Okay, from the left hanggang papunta sa right. Okay, is this continuous or not? So we have the asymptote here. All right, so very good. So this is not continuous. Okay, so parang ang nagsilbing interruption niya sa ating graph ay yung asymptote niya. No? So hindi natin tuloy-tuloy na trace yung graph. Okay, so napakadali lang, di ba, na makita yung continuity ng function natin using graph. Okay, so for our third example, still we have f of x is equal to x squared plus 2x plus 1 over x squared minus 1. So is this continuous or not? Okay, so you may try it using your Desmos app, no? Para masanay din kayong mag-type ng function. Okay, so ayan, very good. Yung mga karamihan naman ng sagot ay tama. Okay. So obviously, nakakita tayo ng interruption or putol sa ating graph. Meron din siyang vertical asymptote. So this is not continuous. Okay, so for our next, f of x is equal to 2 minus x cubed. So this is, so wala tayong denominator. Walang expression sa denominator. Okay, so walang magpapa-undefined sa function natin. And as we can see sa graph, all right, very good. So this is a continuous function. Okay, obviously, walang putol tayong nakita, walang hole sa ating graph. Okay, now, this is what we call the piecewise function naman. So, we have the piecewise function. Okay, so obviously then, meron tayong nakikitang. Alright, very good. Ayan, may sumasagot na. So, may nakita tayong putol. Okay, dito sa part na to, which is x is equal to 1. Okay. So, papakita ko rin kung paano mag-graph sa using the Desmos. Okay. So, dito, since piecewise siya, parang paghihiwalayin natin yung dalawang condition. So, yung isa, f of x is equal to, sabi, 3. Okay. So, yan, bracket. Para dun sa kanyang condition, if x is less than or equal to 1 daw. Okay, so nakita natin yung unang condition niya. Okay, yung 3 as for x is less than or equal to 1. What about 2 minus x? For x is greater than 1. So f of x is equal to 2 minus x. Okay, bracket. Tapos yung condition, x greater than 1. Okay, so ganun po mag-graph ng piecewise function. So parang nagkaroon tayo ng dalawang function, pero i-show natin siya. Okay, and meron lang tayong sinet na domain for that function. Okay, so the graph looks like this. Ayan. Okay, so obviously this is not continuous, yung function, yung piecewise function na to, dahil okay, may interruption. Okay, naputol siya sa bandang x is equal to 1. So next, yung ating piecewise function na example, still ganun pa rin kapag tinype natin sa Desmos. Okay, so continuous or not po? Alright. Okay, so hindi pala porket piecewise function ay hindi na continuous, no? So pwedeng yung dalawang graph pala na yan, okay, yung dalawang condition na yan ay magdugtong. Okay, so for this example, yung dalawang condition natin, nagdugtong siya. Okay, so wala siyang naging interruption, no? So tuloy-tuloy lang yung ating graph. Okay, and that's why we can consider this as a continuous function. Okay? So next, ayan. So last na pala yon. So for our guide questions, okay, how did you use the Desmos app in graphing the given function? Okay, so since ako naman yung nag-graph, okay, so we just simply type the given function, and then the Desmos automatically showed us the graph. Okay. So for number 2, when do you say that a graph is continuous or not? Okay, paulit-ulit na lang to. So who can answer this? So kailan mo masasabi na ang graph ay continuous o hindi? Okay, so Patrice, when ha?
Pag wala pong interruption o yung butol po.
Okay, so very good. So if the graph has no interruption or any gap. Okay, so kasama doon, again, yung hole. Okay, so that is considered an interruption. All right, so very good. So wala na po bang question? Let's move on to the next slide. So continuity of a function at constant c. Okay, So pag sinabi kong C, yan yung value ni X. Okay, so itetest natin yung continuity at a certain point. Okay, so mamaya makikita natin ang question dito karaniwan ay continuous ba yung ating function at this point at x is equal to 1. Okay, so may given na ni x value. Okay, so a function is said. Okay, can you read the definition? Dito po ba si Eric Jan? Okay, so can you read the definition of the continuity? Okay, so thank you for that, Eric. So, in-underline ko yung kanina pa natin pinag-uusapan when it comes to the continuity of a function. So, no hole, jump, or gap. Okay? Pero ito, yung ating part ng lesson na to. Okay? So, meron tayong point na pinag-uusapan. Okay? So, at x is equal to c. Okay? So, sabi, once you lift your pen, it means that the graph of function is discontinuous at x is equal to c. Okay, so now let's have some examples. Okay, so as we trace yung ating graph, no? Okay, again, naka-encounter tayo ng hole. So this is the example a while ago. Okay, so yung hole na to is na-encounter natin at x is equal to 1. Okay? So simply, okay, since doon natin na-encounter yung interruption, so doon siya discontinuous or not continuous. Okay? So ang function natin na to is not continuous at x is equal to 1. Alright, so this is, okay, looking at this graph and upon tracing the graph at x is equal to 1, we can notice that we have to lift the pen at x is equal to 1. Okay, so hindi na siya naging continuous dun sa part na yan. So this means that this graph is not continuous at x is equal to 1. So next, so obviously, this is also not continuous, but saan kayang part siya hindi nag-continuous or hindi nagtuloy-tuloy? Saan siya nagkaroon ng interruption, gap, or putol? Okay, so very good. So how about the others? Tingnan nyo yung value ni X. Saan kayang part? Alright, so ayan. So, katulad ng answer ng karamihan sa inyo, so majority naman nag-answer ng 1. Okay, so that is correct. Very good. So, in this graph, if we are going to trace this graph also, we also have to lift the pen at x is equal to 1. Okay, so dun din naputol at x is equal to 1. So, this means that the graph is not continuous at x is equal to 1. So for our final part, okay, so as we trace yung ating graph, okay, obviously, this is continuous since hindi tayo naka-encounter ng any interruption, gap, or hole. Alright, so ngayon naman, okay, so kanina puro graph tayo, ang dali-daling makita ng discontinuous or not. Okay? So what if, okay, ayoko muna ng graph, so wag nyo munang i-graph. Okay, so yung function lang ang given sa atin. Okay, so ito naman yung testing of the continuity of a function. So itetest na lang natin siya, hindi na natin kailangang i-graph. So pwede po pala yon. So we have the three conditions of continuity. Okay, so kailan daw masasabi na continuous? Can you read? Dito po ba si Lara Althea?
Yes po.
Okay, so what are the three conditions?
A function f of x is said to be continuous at x is equals to c if the following three conditions are satisfied. First, if f of c exists. Two, if the limit of f of x as x approaches c exists. Three, as f is equals to the limit of f of x as x approaches c.
Okay, thank you, Althea. Okay, so we have the three conditions daw of continuity. So if hindi masatisfy kahit isa man dito, okay, so hindi na magiging continuous yung ating function. Okay? So isa-isahin natin. So f of c exists. So ano ba ibig sabihin ng f of c? So meron tayong given mamaya na value ni c. So itetest natin yung continuity ng function. For example, at x is equal to 0. Okay? So ang tanong mamaya is the function continuous at x is equal to 0? Okay? So itong 0 na to is we will simply substitute sa ating function. Kaya magiging f of 0. Okay? So tapos evaluate na yung function. Okay? So kapag nagkaroon tayo ng value, pag may nakuha tayo any value, okay, wag lang undefined. So mag-e-exist yung ating f of c. Okay? So again, kapag may nakuha tayong value, so our f of c exists, na-satisfy yung first condition. For the second one, naka-evaluate na rin tayo ng limit ng function. Okay? So paano ba tayo nag-evaluate? Technically, same lang sila, no? So sinasubstitute lang natin yung value ni c. So for example, we have the limit of f of x as x approaches 0. Okay, kasi nga, ina-evaluate natin or tinetest natin yung continuity at x is equal to 0. Okay, so the limit of the function as x approaches 0 exists. Okay, so paano natin ginagawa yan? Sinasubstitute lang natin sa ating function. So, f of 0 lang din. Okay, so sir, baka may magtanong, sir, kapag ginawa ko pala yung una, ganun na lang din yung gagawin ko sa pangalawa. Basically, yes, pero ang kinaibahan nila, okay, so wala tayong simplification na mangyayari sa unang condition. As is yun, kunwari makakuha tayo ng 0 over 0, okay, so which is indeterminate also, okay, so indeterminate. Once na makuha natin yan, okay, hindi na magsasatisfy yung ating first condition. Okay? But, dito sa second condition, since 0 over 0 nga, okay, so indeterminate in form, ibig sabihin niya, pwede nating i-simplify yung function. So, pwedeng mag-exist yung pangalawang condition, pero yung unang condition, hindi. Alright, so but basically, parehas lang tayo ng ginagawa. Okay, so sinasubstitute lang natin sa function natin. Okay, so malinaw po ba yon? So for our third condition, dapat yung makuha natin sa dalawang to, sa 1 and 2, sa first and second conditions, ay equal. So f of c must be equal to the limit of f of x as x approaches c. Okay, so dapat yung makuha natin, for example, nakuha nating value dito ay 2, dapat makuha rin nating value dito ay 2. Kapag hindi sila equal, hindi magsasatisfy yung condition natin na to. Okay, thus hindi na continuous yung ating function. Okay, so malinaw po ba yun when it comes to testing the continuity of a function without graphing? So may question po ba dito? Pa-thumbs up naman if malinaw. All right, so let's try some examples. For number 1, we have the given function here. Okay, f of x is equal to x squared minus 2x plus 3. Okay, is this continuous at x is equal to 1? So, itetest daw natin tong function na to if continuous at x is equal to 1. Okay, so for the solution, we have to check the 3 conditions for continuity of a function. Yung una, f of c must exist. So ito po yon. If x is equal to 1, then, okay, anong nangyari? Sinubstitute lang yung 1 sa lahat ng x. So f of 1 is equal to 1 squared minus 2 times 1 plus 3. Alright, so we have, kaya nakuha yung sagot na 2. Okay, so simplifying this, 1 minus 2 plus 3 is equal to 2. Okay, so nasatisfy yung first condition, it exists. Okay, so the second condition, yung limit, okay, the limit also exists. Basically, ganun lang ginawa natin. The limit of x squared minus 2x plus 3 as x approaches 1 is equal to, okay, sinasubstitute lang din yung 1 sa ating excess. So we have 1 minus 2 plus 3 is also equal to 2. Okay, the limit exists. Okay, equal ba yung nakuha natin sa dalawa, and that is the third condition. Okay, so equal po, we get an answer of 2. Okay, so nasatisfy yung third condition. Thus, for our conclusion, nasatisfy yung tatlo na condition natin. Therefore, f of x is continuous at x is equal to 1. Okay, so that's basically it, testing the continuity of a function at a certain point. Okay, so let's have another example. Okay, so now itetest din naman natin yung continuity ng function natin na to. So f of x is equal to x squared minus 3x plus 2 over x minus 2. Okay, at x is equal to 0. So test natin. First condition, f of 0. Does it exist? Okay, yes, it exists. Okay, saan nanggaling yung negative 1? Substitute lang. So 0, f of 0 is equal to 0 squared minus 3 times 0 plus 2 over 0 minus 2. Okay, So, cancel out lahat ng may 0. Natira yung 2 over negative 2. Hence, we got the negative 1. Okay? So, for the limit, test din natin yung limit ng ating function. Basically, sinubstitute lang din niya, no? Okay? So, that's why we got the negative 1 as well. Okay? So, it exists, the limit exists at x as x approaches 0. So, equal ba yung nakuha natin? Yes. And that is the third condition. Okay? So, hence, we have the f of x is continuous at x is equal to 0. Okay? So, napakadali lang din mag-test ng continuity, okay, without graphing. So, hindi natin ginraph, pero na-test natin yung continuity. Okay? For our next example, same lang yung function, but different value of x. Okay? So, itetest din natin tong function na to. Okay? Let's try. We will determine if the given function a while ago is continuous at x is equal to 2 naman. Okay? So, paano kaya pag x equal to 2, continuous pa kaya yung function? Let's see. Okay, again, we have first condition. Okay, anong gagawin? Simply substitute sa ating x's. So, f of 2 is equal to 2 squared minus 3x or 3 times 2 plus 2 all over 2 minus 2. So, ano pong answer dito?
Indeterminate.
Okay, ano po munang value? Okay,
Zero.
very good. 0 over 0. Okay? So guys, ang mas tamang term kapag 0 over 0 is, again, indeterminate. Okay? Mas tamang term ang indeterminate kapag 0 over 0. Kailan undefined? Kapag may value yung numerator. For example, 2 over 0. Okay? So this is undefined. Okay? So indeterminate yung ating form, yung ating nakuha for first condition. Thus, hindi na nag-e-exist yung ating f of 2. Okay? So hindi niya na na-satisfy yung first condition. Okay? Tuloy pa rin tayo. We have the second condition. We will evaluate the limit of x squared minus 3x plus 2 all over x minus 2 as x approaches 2. Okay? So, since 0 over 0 na nga yung, ganun din yung gagawin natin dito di ba? Substitute natin yung 2, makukuha rin natin 0 over 0. Okay? So, sandali, 0 over 0, indeterminate. Ibig sabihin, may makukuha pa akong limit. So, pwede ko pa itong i-simplify. Okay, so paano po yun? Simplify natin by factoring out yung ating function sa numerator. Okay, so we have, anong factor ni x squared minus 3x plus 2? Okay, very good. Mary. Okay, ayan. So may nag-answer na x minus 2 and x minus 1. Okay, over x minus 2. Okay, so pwede kong i-cancel out si x minus 2. Ang matitira ay si x minus 1. So, rewrite pa rin natin yung limit dito sa unahan. So, dapat may limit pa rin yan as x approaches 2. Okay, So, ang natira, na-evaluate natin limit of x minus 1 as x approaches 2 na lang. Okay? So, pag sinubstitute natin, yung value na ina-approach ni x is 2 minus 1 na lang. Thus, we have an answer of 1. Okay, so ito na po yung sinasabi ko kanina na kahit parehas yung ginagawa natin sa first and second condition, so pwede pa rin siyang mag-iba. Okay? Kapag indeterminate yung form. Alright? So, nag-e-exist pala yung limit. So, meron pa ring limit, pero hindi nag-exist yung f of 2. Okay? So, wala tayong nakuhang value sa first condition, tapos sa second meron, hindi na sila equal. So, hindi na rin nag-satisfy yung third condition. Okay? So, f of 2 is not equal to the limit of x squared minus 3x plus 2 over x minus 2 as x approaches 2. Okay, so please bear with my handwriting. Okay, so I'm just using the mouse. Ayaw gumana nung pen. Okay, so for our third condition, so hindi rin siya na-satisfy. Okay, hence ang ating conclusion dito, condition 1 is not satisfied, therefore, f is not continuous at x is equal to 2. Okay, so that's basically the testing of continuity at as a single point. Okay, so na-test natin yung continuity at only one point. So what if naman kapag interval, pag sinabi kong from, okay, so okay, so pag binigyan ko kayo ng ganito, testing the continuity, okay, so this is read as from 0 to 3. X is equal to, okay, 0 hanggang 3. Okay, so we will now recall yung about sa interval natin, no? Interval notation. Okay, so pwede tayo makakita ng closed interval like this, 1 hanggang 5. Okay, so ang meaning nito, okay, closed interval meaning kasama si 1 and kasama si 5. Kapag naman parenthesis, okay, 1 and 5, 1 hanggang 5. Okay, so hindi kasama yung mismong 1 hanggang si 5.
Hindi po.
Alright, so can you read yung nasa box? Andito po ba si Glenn?
Sir,
Alright, Glenn.
using the given graph, determine if the function f of x is continuous.
Ito muna, Glenn. Sorry. Ito pala yung nasa box.
A function f is said to be continuous from the left at x is equals to c if f of x is equals to limit of f of x as x approaches c. A function
Okay, so this is pag naka-raise sa negative, di ba? From that is as x approaches c from the left. Okay, so as x approaches c from the left. Okay, so for this next one, nakituloy lang, Glenn.
A function f said to be continuous from the right at x is equals to c if f of c is equals to limit of f of x as x approaches c. Positive.
Okay, so from the right naman, since naka-raise sa positive. Alright, so sige. So, let us consider the graph. So, thank you, Glenn, for that. So, consider natin yung graph na to ni f of x is equal to square root of x. So, ganito po yung itsura ni f of x is equal to square root of x. So, using the given graph, we will determine if the function is continuous on the following intervals. So, for letter A, this is read as 0 hanggang positive infinity. So we have the interval. Kanina, tines lang natin yung continuity at a certain point at x is equal to 0, at x is equal to 2. Okay, so isang point lang. Dito naman, interval 0 hanggang positive infinity na. Okay, so mas madadalian tayo dito kapag ginraph natin yung function. Okay, so 0 to positive infinity, ito po yon. Okay, 0 hanggang extended to the rightmost part. Okay, so pag tinrace natin yung graph natin hanggang positive infinity, okay, so may arrow yan, 6. Ang ibig sabihin, infinite siya, extended. Okay, so wala tayong na encounter na interruption or putol sa graph natin. Thus, pwede nating masabi na the function is continuous at 0 hanggang positive infinity. Okay? So you may try letter B. Okay, sino po kayang makaka-answer? Okay, so let's have Mary, Realine. So paano mo nasabi na continuous?
Sir, kasi po kasama po yung 0 to 4 po dun sa 0 to infinity po.
Okay, very good. So pwede yun, tama. Okay. So tama yung sinabi ni Mary. Okay. So sabi niya kasama daw tong 0 to 4 sa 0 to positive infinity. Continuous na nga yung 0 hanggang positive infinity. Thus, continuous na rin yung 0 to 4. And if we will examine the graph, okay, saan ba yung 0 to 4? Ito yung 0 hanggang 1, 2, 3, 4. So hanggang dun lang yung titingnan natin. 0 hanggang makapunta ka kay 4. Okay? So hindi pa nga kasama yung mismong 0 at saka 4 eh. Okay? So bago makapunta kay 4, wala tayong na-encounter na interruption, putol, or any hole sa ating graph. Thus, the function is continuous at 0 hanggang 4. What about letter C? Negative infinity hanggang 0 daw. Anong meaning ng negative infinity? From the left naman. Okay. Let's have Michael. So, bakit kaya not continuous?
Sir, kasi po, yung graph po ay wala na po sa negative na side po ng Cartesian plane. Doon po sa quadrant 2 or 3.
Okay,
Ano na po
very
yung
good.
sa 0. Yun po.
Alright. So, thank you for that. Very good. So, ang sabi ni Michael, wala na daw graph dito sa left side ng Cartesian plane natin, sa left side ni y-axis. Okay? So, thus, wala tayong matitrace. No? So, hindi natin masasabi if naka-encounter tayo interruption. Okay? So, kasama pala yon. Pag wala tayong na-trace sa graph, this is not continuous. Okay? So, not continuous. Since again, wala tayong na-trace from negative infinity. So, dito yon na part hanggang kay bago makarating kay 0. Alright. So, sabi ni Michael dito, yan. So, imaginary yung magiging answer natin. So, ang meaning nito kaya wala siyang graph dahil kung mapapansin natin, ang ating function ay square root. F of x is equal to square root of x. Kapag sinag-substitute tayo ng mga value na negative, okay, so hindi po pwede. So imaginary yung magiging answer. That's why wala rin tayong nakita sa ating graph. Okay? So nagets po ba yun? Let's move on. Okay? So this is the solution for each. Ayan. So, ito rin yung sinabi ko kanina. Alright. So, now, we will be considering the graph on the left side and we will determine if the function is continuous on the following intervals. Okay. So, kayo naman. So, I will let you answer this. So, pwedeng type sa chat box. Okay. For letter A, from -1 hanggang kay 2. Okay? Consider nyo itong parenthesis, meaning hindi kasama si -1 and 2. Okay? So, this is an open interval. So, -1 to 2. Okay, Odette, how can you say na continuous?
Sir po, once we trace the graph po from x is equals to -1 to x is equals to 2, wala pong interruption, tapos hindi din po nagkaroon ng graph. Therefore po, the f of x is continuous on interval -1 and 2.
Okay, so very good. So, clear naman siguro yung sabi ni Odette. So, asan yung -1 and 2? Ito po yun. -1 hanggang kay 2. Tapos, trace natin yung graph from that. Okay? So, trace natin hanggang mapunta kay +2. Okay, so tuloy-tuloy lang. So, wala tayo na-encounter na interruption, putol, hole. Okay? So, thus, continuous yung function from -1 hanggang kay 2. Okay? So, for letter B, is the function continuous from 0 to 3? Okay? Closed interval na to, kasama na si 0 at saka si 3. Guys, sino pa ang makasagot? Okay, so tama yung mga answer. Sino pa? Any other hands? Okay, so let's have Melanie Dotolio. So, Melanie, yan. How can you say? Okay, so can you explain your answer?
Sir, may hole po kasi sa may 3. Since close interval po, kasama po si 3, kaya po not continuous.
Okay, so very good. Thank you for that, Melanie. From 0 to 3, tama yung sabi ni Melanie. Okay, so nasa ba yung 0 to 3? So ito po yon, 0 hanggang kay 3. So we will trace the graph. Okay, from 0 hanggang mapunta tayo kay 3. Okay. Up. So we have encountered a hole at x is equal to 3. Okay, so kagaya ng sinabi ni Melanie, kasama si 3 sa ating interval, may hole dun kay 3. So thus, hindi na continuous yung ating function. Okay? So, what if ganito yung nilagay ko, 0, 0 hanggang 3, tas parenthesis lang yung kay 3. Is the function continuous or not? At from the interval 0 hanggang 3. Okay, very good, May Shane. Tama. Ayan. Guys, nagigets ba? Pag parenthesis na yan, meaning hindi nakasama si 3. Okay? So, the function is continuous na. Okay? So, open interval kasi siya kay 3. Thus, our function again is continuous. So, I hope nagigets po yun. Okay, letter C, from -4 to -1. Okay, open interval again. Nasaan ba si -4? Ito hanggang dito kay -1 sa part na to. Okay, so let's have Kyla.
Sir, hello, naririnig po ako, sir.
Yes, clear naman.
Sir, not continuous because as -4 approaches -1, sir, there is a gap at x is equals to -2. Kaya po not
Okay.
continue.
All right, so very good. So, as we trace the graph, kagaya ng sabi ni Kyla, no? So, we move from -4 hanggang -1, tracing the graph. Okay? Yan. So, at x is equal to -2, okay, nagkaroon siya ng cut or putol sa ating graph. Okay, so may interruption. Thus, we can say that the graph or the function is not continuous from -4 to -1. So for our last, -2 to 3, open interval. Tatawag ako, andito ba si... May I hear it from Jeremiah Lumbis. So, dito ba si Jeremiah?
Dito po, sir.
Okay, so for letter D, -2 hanggang 3, is the function continuous or not?
Continuous po.
Okay, so paano mo nasabi?
Kasi po wala siyang putol.
Okay, so meron akong hole dito kay -2 and 3. Jeremiah. So meron akong putol kay -2 and 3 eh. Continuous pa rin ba?
Hindi na po.
Okay, so hindi na? Hindi na ba? Okay, so thank you for that, Jeremiah. So let's have ayan. So same hands. Sino pa ba? Hindi ko natatawag. Let's have Julius Vic.
Sir, ano po yung tanong niyo? Doon pa rin po ba sa D po?
Yes, letter D.
Sir, ano po siya continuous?
Bakit po continuous?
Sir, because the x is equals to 2 up to x is equals to 3, halo po siya. Hindi po natin nilift po yung pen. Kaya po yung tracing po natin ay continuous. Kaya po nagkaroon po tayo ng continuous. Kaya po nasabi na continuous.
Okay, so but from -2 hanggang 3, di ba? From -2, may hole. Hanggang kay 3, merong hole. So continuous pa rin ba yon? Nasaan na? Ayan. Okay, sige.
Para po sa akin po, pero hindi po, sa tingin ko po, hindi po kasama yung 2 and 3. Parang mula po dun sa, yung, basta po hindi po kasama yung 2 and 3. Para po sa akin ganun.
Okay. So, tama naman yung answer. Okay, so but we have to, we have to be sure bakit hindi kasama. Okay, so yun yung sinasabi ko kanina na, okay, yung parenthesis or yung bracket ay plays a big part sa ating interval, no? Okay, so since parenthesis nga yung given natin dito, -2 hanggang kay 3, okay? So from -2, kahit pa may butas yon or hole sa ating -2, okay? So hindi siya kasama dahil parenthesis. So meaning open interval. Okay? Ganun din kay 3, parenthesis kay 3. Okay? So open interval, hindi kasama si 3 sa i-consider natin kay graph. Okay? So -2 hanggang kay 3 is still continuous yung ating function. Okay, so nagets po ba yon? Clear po ba? Pa-thumbs up naman. Alright, so let's have last na lang. Okay, so from -2 hanggang kay 3. Okay, so from -2 hanggang kay 3, so I will be, yan, test natin. Okay, same hand. Sino pa ba? Let's have Shaina Bolondro. Are you here?
Yes po, sir.
All right. So, is the function continuous from -2 hanggang kay 3? Okay, so yung binaks ko, consider the interval.
Not continuous po.
Okay, bakit not continuous?
Because meron pong hole na nag-interrupt po sa daloy ng lines po sa graph.
Okay, so saan na-encounter yung discontinuity? Shaina, saan mo na-encounter? At x is equal to? Yan, wala si Shaina. Alright, so na-encounter natin yung interruption at x is equal to -2. Okay, so closed interval na to, we have the bracket. Okay. And then -2. Okay, so hindi siya continuous at x is equal to -2. Okay, meaning kasama na kasi si x is equal to -2 kaya i-consider na natin siya. Okay? So pagdating naman kay 3, even may hole siya. Okay, so hindi siya kasama since parenthesis, open interval at 3. Okay? So hanggang dumating kay 3, ayun. So the answer is not continuous. Okay? So Mary Realin, may question po ba? Ayan, wala naman. So, pa-type na lang ng C if pwede na tayong mag-move to our last slide. Okay, so these are the solutions. Okay, so this our last topic for this week. So problem solving on continuity. Okay. So as simple as this, testing the continuity of a function pa rin. So suppose at t minutes, r of t meters is the radius of a circular oil spill from a ruptured tanker, and okay, so we have the piecewise function. Okay, so yung radius daw ay nakadepende sa time. Okay, so radius ng circular oil spill, yan, lumalaki as time goes by. Okay, nakadepende siya sa time t. So r of t is equal to 40 squared plus 20 if t is between 0 and 2, and 16t plus 4 if t is less than 1. Okay? So let us have the testing of continuity. So test natin, is the function continuous at x is, or at t time is equal to 2. Okay? So may given tayo, t is equal to 2. Yung 3 conditions, naaalala pa po ba? So simply substitute for our first condition, r of 2. Substitute lang. So saan siya magfa-fall? Since t is equal to 2 is between this. Okay? So sa first expression tayo, or sa yung first expression yung gagamitin natin. Okay? So, sinubstitute lang 4 times 2 squared plus 20. Okay? So, that is equal to 36. So, may nakuha tayong value. So, i-check natin yan na satisfy yung first condition. For the limit, okay? So, for the limit of r of t, as t approaches 2, okay? So, simply substitute lang din sa ating piecewise function. Okay? So, that is also equal to 36. Okay? So, the limit, okay, as we approach time t is equal to 2, okay, the answer is also 36. So, substitute lang din sa ating expression. Okay, so since equal yung dalawang value, okay, so first and second condition, 36 yung nakuha natin. So hence, na-satisfy yung third condition, f of 2 is equal to the limit of r of t as t approaches 2. So thus, r is continuous at 2. Okay? So may question po ba when it comes to problem solving? So parang nag-test lang din ng, so basically nag-test lang din tayo ng continuity, pero meron siyang pinasok lang siya sa isang problem solving. Alright, so may question pa po ba? That is our last slide. So you may go to the Google Classroom for your week 3 activities. Alright, so may nagtatanong si Antonel. Okay, so paano daw yung performance task? Okay. So I will show you yung inyong performance task for this week. Ay, ang galing naman. Sige. Sino yung kumanta? Sige. Alright, so guys, nakikita na ba yung performance task?
Opo.
Alright, so sabi dito sa instruction, using Desmos app or yung website, we will construct 3 different graphs which lie on interval -8 to 8. So kanina, di ba, napakita ko naman kung paano mag-graph kapag may given na interval lang using Desmos. So wait lang. 3 different graph daw which lie on interval -8 to 8. So basically, mag-iisip tayo ng different equation. Okay? So karaniwan naman, naglalay sa 8 hanggang 8. So for example, f of x is equal to wag lang square root kasi hindi na tayo pwedeng magkaroon ng negative na value ni x kapag square root. So for example, x squared over x plus 1. Huwag pala yan. Medyo complicated. Okay, so we have x minus 4 over x plus 1. Okay, so as we can see, pwede nating lagyan siya ng interval, okay, or condition lang from -8 hanggang 8 lang. So, ganito pala, dapat may less than or. Ayan, so kita na po ba yung graph?
Opo.
Okay, so for example, ayan yung naisip kong function, x minus 4 over x plus 1. So we can see, tuloy-tuloy yan from negative infinity, or from -8 hanggang 8 lang daw. Okay, so it lies from the -8 hanggang 8. Okay, so pwede kong putulin using yung brace. Okay, so for -8 hanggang 8 lang. Okay, so ganyan yung magiging itsura ng graph ko. Okay? So yan na yung unang graph ko. Okay, so meron na akong unang graph. And sabi sa next, choose an interval within -8 hanggang 8. For example, interval 0 hanggang 3. Okay? So, ang pipiliin ko, for example, interval 1 hanggang 4. Okay? So, pwedeng close interval, pwedeng open interval. So, kayo po ang bahala. So, for 1 hanggang 4, yung napili ka for this graph, okay? So, prove that those intervals are continuous. Okay? So, yung 1 hanggang 4, okay? Explain nyo lang kung continuous or hindi and bakit siya continuous or bakit hindi siya continuous. So, 1 hanggang 4, nasan ba si 1 hanggang 4? 1 hanggang kay 4. Okay? Ayan. So, as I trace the graph from 1 hanggang 4, I didn't encounter any interruption, graph, or any hole. Thus, the function is continuous from the interval 1 hanggang kay 4. Okay, so that's basically it. Meron na tayong unang equation. Okay, so tig-iisa pong interval per graph. Okay, so dapat makakita ko ng tatlong different graph. Tapos each graph merong interval and each graph din merong explanation kung continuous or not dun sa napili nyo ring interval. Okay, so ayan, so pwedeng ganito na lang yung maging explanation. Okay, so as we trace the graph from 0 hanggang 3, yan, depende sa magiging given nyo na interval. So, nagets po ba? So, pa-type naman ng PT if nagets na. Alright. Ayan. So, bawal nang gamitin yung x minus 4 over x plus 1. Ano? Hello, Michael. What do you mean by maraming graph?
So yung kanina po, yung sa lesson nyo po, yung kanina.
Ito ba? Ganito?
Po, yung ganyan po ba yung mangyayari?
Hindi naman. So kahit magkakaibang function. So ito kasi basta graph lang hindi siya, wala tayong given dito na f of x is equal to something. So hindi po ganyan. So magkakaroon tayo ng tatlong different graph dito sa Desmos. Clear ba 'yon? So hindi siya magkakasama, yung tatlong graph na yun ay magkakaibang Cartesian. Okay, tapos pipili kayo ng interval for each. Okay na po ba? Okay na ba, Michael? Yes, separate. Okay, any other questions regarding your performance tasks? So, dapat tatlo po yan. Tapos pipili kayo ng interval. Then, explain nyo lang kung continuous or not. Okay, if wala nang question, so that's it. Thank you very much. Pwede po ba ako mag-request last na makapag-open ng cam? Let's have a picture taking na lang. Yan, wait lang. Mag-open lang din ako. Alright, so smile. Ayan, so medyo marami, no? So medyo ulit tatlong part. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Again, second. All right, so tapos na guys. Thank you very much for your active participation for this day. So
Thank you po,
na
sir.
lang. Thank you. Chat na lang
Thank
ako
you, sir.
kapag may question pa.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you po.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir.